Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. So we're good to go. Um, Welcome to the show. I really appreciate you coming on here to talk about this today. That's pretty awesome. Um, so yeah, to get started, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about, introduce yourself, let people know who you are and what you do, and then after that we'll talk about the organization, and then we'll get into the details of houselessness.
Cool. Good afternoon. My name is Ndindi, and I'm an educator. Also, co-founded a small mutual aid network of care called Palms and House Mutual Aid, and we are in kind of the middle of the city and the west side of Los Angeles.
Cool. Yeah, I came to one of the mutual aid. It was really nice. You guys are doing a mutual aid event in I think it was the Mar Vista area off of Grandview.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was through Puma.
Yeah, that's actually part of a coalition. Um,
Hmm.
so we do harm reduction. We do a lot of street outreach, and then we try to connect folks to services and try to build power and community with our unhoused neighbors. Is pretty much what we do. And so that event that you came to is a monthly resource center, which is a coalition of a bunch of mutual aid networks who kind of do the same thing. And once a month, we have like service providers come out. We have the city come out. We have folks who can help with documents. We also do art. So Puma does the art table. And just trying to connect folks to services. We have clothing, showers. Yeah.
Yeah, you had everything. You had food giveaways. There was clothing. There was showers. There was an art booth.
Yeah.
I mean, they had groceries people could get over there. It was really more than I see a lot of other groups doing right now, and I guess uniting like that and building that coalition seems to be working because a lot of people were leaving there having necessary supplies. Some people were getting medical care there. They were doing minor medical kind of stuff. Was UCLA Health was there? Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. It was UCLA Health. And we've even had folks who do haircuts and shampoo, hair,
Nice.
and yeah, it's just um, like mutual aid network. We're small, and a bunch of other people are small, so it it's kind of great that we can come together once a month and pull all of our resources and skill sets to just make that happen. And we're usually trying to support, anywhere from like 50 to 80 people each month.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that. A friend of mine had said, "Come down and check it out." I was expecting something super small because that's what I'm usually see or get involved with. And even the small things are awesome because people doing whatever they can do to help other people is always great.
Yeah.
But I was really impressed with that. I just thought, wow, if we can get this going all over,
Yeah.
you know, that would be really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, kudos to you for doing that, and thank you because you guys are out there helping a whole lot of people.
Yeah. Thanks so
But
much.
you're the one doing the work.
I think another reason something like that exists is to really show what it is people can do and how we can fill the gaps. It's an indictment of our state and our government and how they've abandoned people is really what it is.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, it sucks people even have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, I was really impressed, and I really think that everybody there was awesome. If I'm talking slow, it's because I'm trying to promote the show real quick. I'm really bad at this. My goal is always to get awesome guests like you and let you guys talk and kind of just ask questions that kind of guide you. But I do want to talk about, like you said, the failure of the government. Um, I think even worse than a failure. A failure would be something maybe that oops, we failed. I think they're trying to, when I said eradicate houselessness, I mean eradicate the system that sets up houselessness. I think they're trying to eradicate houseless people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making laws where you can't sleep next to schools, next to daycare centers, next to parks, next to businesses. What is this, 4118?
Yeah.
Um,
4118. There's also one for parks that covers parks. The idea is to criminalize houselessness. And it is death making. People die all the time. And really to disappear poverty, to try and solve these social issues like through criminalization of people, is essentially what it is. And yeah, it's some of them are actively trying to kill people. Also, it's just abandoning people to die, while pretending to do all sorts of things about it. So there are programs, Project Room Key, which is closing, of which no one seems to have knows what's going to happen next to the people who are being kicked out of hotel rooms. As it is anyway, it's pretty carceral. People have curfews. There's mandates on what you can or cannot do there. And it's this idea that you must accept any kind of shelter that you're given, or there's something deeply wrong with you.
yeah,
And it's messed up.
yeah, it definitely is. I hear people all the time saying, if they must want to be homeless. If they didn't, they would take, like you said, they would take anything. They go to the shelters. They go here and there. And I've explained it before on quite a few of our previous shows. But maybe you can talk about the shelters because you might not even know more than I do. But I know there's a lot of terrible things that go on there. And like you said, they're monitored. They have curfews.
Yeah.
You can't have a job if it goes at certain times without getting it signed off on. People get
Right.
raped in there. People get beat up in there. I mean, some of them have really filthy conditions.
Yeah.
And on top of that, most shelters, or at least a huge amount of them, you can't take
Yep.
pets and you can't take significant others
Right.
unless you're married. And sometimes they don't even let that fly.
Yeah. And your kids too. It's really a mess that's being offered as a solution. But you're right. It's rampant abuse. And like 40% of youth in our nation are LGBTQ. So most of the reasons they find themselves houseless is because their own families have abandoned them. Also, they don't have health care and all sorts of kind of other things that people need to survive. And a shelter is really not where most anyone wants to be. And it's conditions. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of outbreaks of things like typhus, and you're like, isn't this a medieval disease? What's going on here? Like sheer, you know, unacceptable conditions, conditions
Yeah.
that no one should be asked to take. The tiny little sheds that all of these politicians are out here promoting don't even meet the qualifications of a prison cell. And a prison is not something that should exist. So telling people that you should share such a space, two of you, without your pets, far away from where it is that you consider home, awful conditions, curfews, possible abuse. You can't work when you need to because you got to be back at 7 p.m. It's
Yeah, I remember quite a few years back, they were hailing this one shelter that was getting built. And I was actually doing a protest out at the Metro Detention Center
mm-hmm.
for a long time. So I was kind of watching the whole thing across the street unfold. And then this shelter opened, and it was just some trailers, like some bungalow trailers, like they have it, at schools or
Yeah.
whatever. And you know, and then they had cops. They paid 1 to 2 cops, I guess, to sit out there all night long.
Mm-hmm.
in front of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta, and even during COVID, they had hotels, which was a lot better. They would let people go into hotels. And then some people started not wanting to go into the hotels because some of these hotels would have cops and sheriffs there
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And they would search people going in and they search people coming out. Then they had lockers that they had keys to where you're supposed to put drugs or anything quote unquote illegal in there and
Yeah.
not take it into your room.
Yeah.
And then they had curfews in some places.
Yeah.
And you had the same thing, no pets, no, and this was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
This is like desperate times and they were treating these people like shit.
Yeah. It's really
And if they
punitive.
would do that, yeah, I mean, it's almost like they want to harm people.
Yeah.
I've said for a long time, a lot of people's goal is to have concentration camps
Yeah.
for houseless
Yeah.
people.
It is. The idea is to
And
contain
just,
people who seem to be some kind of social problem in a spot, and they're not allowed to do stuff. Yeah, internment is absolutely correct. I agree with that. Funny thing about the bungalows, this society doesn't care about kids either. And when I was in the public school system, I would teach often in those bungalow things. They would get so hot, like we'd have kids passing out. This
yeah,
that's not a situation another human being should be in.
yeah. And I do a lot of, as you know, I film the police a lot of times down there on Venice and Sepulveda.
Yeah,
I know you're down there a lot too. We're gonna talk about what you do down there in a few
sure.
minutes. But I'm there for police. I try to help people when I can, but I'm there to try to monitor the police and make sure they're not harming people. The other night they had a bunch of guns pulled on some poor woman who's crying,
Oh,
holding herself unarmed. It's crazy, but like so they do a sweep, and the sweep is to clean up, and people are supposed to move their stuff out the way so they could bleach and clean up the street.
mm-hmm.
And mind you, they don't ever give people dumpsters. They don't give people restrooms. They don't give people showers or anything down there.
Yeah,
I know now since COVID, they've done a little better, but I'm telling you, a couple of years back, we bitched and bitched, and mainly it was an organization with awesome people. I can't think of the name of it right now, but anyway, it'll pop in my head in a minute.
yeah,
But they had went and complained to the city, and they got dumpsters put in down there, and it was really nice at first. People could throw their stuff away, and
mm-hmm.
it wasn't just all on the street. Then you know what happened? Nobody would empty the dumpsters, and activists would be calling, and the residents would be calling. Everybody would be trying to get these dumpsters dumped, and they never would dump the dumpsters until the sweeps.
Yeah,
So you have these dumpsters piled sky high, like 3 dumpsters full, and everywhere all around. So people started lighting them on fire. Like we'll empty them like
yeah,
that, turn everything to ashes, and then refill them up.
mm-hmm.
It wasn't done to start a fire. It wasn't done. It was done out of necessity for more dumpster space because they wouldn't. You know what the city said? They're vandalizing the dumpsters and burning them, so we got to take them out. We can't have them there anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I used to do some work in Skid Row, and like the early 2000s, and folks petitions actually with a good friend of mine, General Jeff, rest in power, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, petitioned to get just trash cans, and they eventually took away the trash cans. And the reason they said that they took away the trash cans is because this is where people were dealing their drugs out of. And so the whole 50-block area of Skid Row got denied trash cans because of this so-called reason, which was an excuse.
wow.
Yeah, I remember that. And then it was maddening. And then they tried a beautification project to try and get some trees and green space. General Jeff did this. And they said, well, you can't really do that because people are going to be stashing drugs in your little community garden. And we're like, what is this?
Yeah, that's the war on drugs is a whole nother issue
Yep.
that leads to a lot of this.
Yeah.
There's so many things that are connected causing this problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so at Venice and Sepulveda on Mondays, we do harm reduction. And so meet with folks, the folks who use drugs, non-judgmental. It's needle exchange. It's trying to connect people to services or whatever they need. It's glass pipes. It's also trying to really shield folks from abuse, from police abuse, and abuse from housed people. Housed people show up there all the time. Like, I've been there once and someone threw a Four Loko out of their car window, hit me on the head, and like that's a pretty standard thing. People roll up and just throw things at unhoused people.
They do worse than that. You know, actually on Monday's show, we do a show on Mondays called the People's Weekly. This last Monday we talked about, because I had seen, since these Starbucks are closing for unionization,
Yeah.
but they're claiming it's because of violence from mainly houseless people.
Yeah.
So we talked about violence and houseless encampments and how the same. You know, people that are going to do violent things and people that commit crimes are going to commit crimes either way, whether they're in a house, whether they're in a tent, whether they're in a car, wherever they're living. The thing about it is, when you keep people poor intentionally, they have to commit crimes to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of things are made crimes. Just like you said, they criminalize things. They make things crimes that aren't even necessarily crimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was telling about stuff I've seen. I've seen this one woman. She takes different people that are truly mentally ill, and she basically puts them in. She has them sign all this stuff and puts them in for conservatorship, where she takes all their money.
Oh
She
my
takes all
goodness.
their medicines. They can't. Like, we found out because people are like, we can't get our medicine. Whatever her name is, I don't remember. Yeah, she had to kind of stop that because
Oh
she
my.
started getting threatened and harassed because people found out what she was doing. But she's robbing these people blind, taking advantage of
Yeah.
mentally ill people who can't get mental health care. And then you got people going in there, and there's a lot of rapes that go on, and some of them aren't people that live in the community. Communities usually don't attack themselves. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Sometimes things happen, but generally, these are other people coming around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And seeing easy prey. These people are intense. These people are low. You know, the
Yeah.
police don't care about these people.
Yeah.
You know, there's this one dude. We've been dealing with this guy for years. He's one of those MAGA, love Trump, and he's just a racist, white supremacist. Like, I don't know if you remember, um, a few years back, there was, not even that long ago, there was some pro police that said, "We love Culver City Police," spray painted
Yep.
up there, and it had arrows aiming
Yep.
down to the tent, said Biden owns this. That's this dude.
Yep. I know
Yeah,
I know who he is, but I'm gonna avoid naming him right now.
yeah. I don't know his name. I know he got stomped out and his hat burned one day. I know he drives around with a flag a lot of times, and he keeps little kids with him to protect him. Yeah, he's a weirdo. But I'm saying there's a lot of things like that. There was a woman who was drunk driving and ran her car into two tents. I have a friend named Greg that some dudes, they were doing this serially. They were going around beating up and killing homeless people.
Oh my goodness.
These cats, Greg and the guy that was next to him, I don't know him well. I just knew Greg. They were in tents, and there were like four tents there. The tents got lit on fire. They came out and they were beaten with bats.
Oh my goodness.
The one dude died. Greg was in the hospital for
Oh.
months, and when he got out, he was never the same mentally. He was never the same,
Yeah.
you know. And nobody cares.
Yeah.
So a lot of the violence. I mean, and we've seen time. And one of them was like, what, a politician's son was going around burning tents.
Mm-hmm.
I hear this from people. Just, why don't the police just go shoot them? Why don't someone just burn it all down and get rid of them? A lot of people have this sick mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these are the same people. These are the same people saying how violent these encampments are.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. People will pull up there all the time to solicit unhoused people, and there's a lot of like sexual assault. And of course, you know, the women and femmes there's not a lot of recourse. Also, there's really nowhere to move to in that situation. So it's just beating down on the most vulnerable people around us. It's sick, is what it is. It's really sick.
It is.
Yeah.
It was sad because a couple weeks ago, the police murdered some dude under the freeway on Pico and Sawtell.
Yes.
Like Tommy's over there, and I was over there, annoying police and cursing them out and doing what I do. And there's one of the residents that lived there. They wouldn't let him go back to his tent,
Yep.
and he just started screaming, "Is my friend okay? Is my friend okay? All I want to know is if my friend
Oh.
okay? What happened? Did you kill my friend?" And he's almost in tears, and they won't tell him anything. He lives there. He has to live there.
Yeah. That's his home.
Like he can't go home until you're done covering up your murder. So he's not gonna be able to go home for hours upon hours, and you can't even tell him if his friend's alive or dead or if anyone's in the tent or something. Let him go knock and see if his friend's okay.
Yeah.
It's just the cruelty. The police are some of the worst.
Yeah.
The way they treat these people.
Yeah.
I would hand out food, especially with my old job. The production company would always give me all the extra food because they know I take it down and hand it out like it would be everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd like buy a taco truck out and be like, whoever wants whatever, go get it from the truck. It's on me. I don't care. Get anything you want as much as you want.
Yeah.
And the police came and they start telling people don't take food from him. He's poisoned. A lot of people died and got real sick because he's poisoning people.
That's disgusting.
That never happened. And the people didn't believe that. They knew because they know me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The people that know me. They're like, no, that's BS. But they came and tell me, you better be careful. The police are saying this and that about you.
Yeah.
Right in front of the camera, I got it on video. One of the cops was like, "Oh, tell them we treat you good. We don't want to hear no crazy stuff. Like, and like we'll be back if you say something bad about us. We know who you are." So a lot of times I don't like if I do know people really good, I pretend like I don't know them a lot. Like I don't want to be seen by police with people because I feel like it put them in danger.
Yeah. Yeah. And expose them.
Because they really hate me, but I get information from people. Like if something happens, I'll get a call.
Yeah.
Or I'll hear about it when I get there or whatever. So that's my source of information.
Yeah.
And you don't believe some of the stuff I hear. I'm still trying to catch as a sheriff that evidently goes down there to buy drugs.
Yep.
I'm trying to get the call when he's down there so I can get it on camera.
Next time I'll give you a call because that happens quite a bit when we go out.
Yeah.
Undercovers, but sometimes it's not undercover work. They are there scoring drugs as well. It's
Yeah. I mean, if you remember on Skid Row not that long ago, it was all on the news. A cop was in a tent tweaking
Yep.
with some
Yep.
houseless people. They got in a fight over whatever, and the cop shot somebody off duty.
Yeah, I remember that.
He wasn't an undercover. Yeah. These cops are out there doing. I mean, when they say they're worse than the gangbangers, trust me, I've dealt with them my whole life from many different angles, and yes, they are worse than any other gang.
Yeah. Seen them like plant evidence. A whole lot happens, especially on Venice and Sepulveda.
Oh yeah, I've seen them just walk into people's tents one after another.
Mm-hmm.
No knock, no nothing.
Nothing.
We're searching for somebody.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that in a house, you can't do that. That's their home.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's nothing ever gets done about it either. Like we complain all we like, they don't care. Have great disdain and disrespect for unhoused folks.
Yeah, they hate them. But two things you said earlier, and I was thinking about this since you said them.
Yeah.
One was the drugs. We were talking about how everyone's like, oh, they're drug dens and they're havens for drugs and this and that. If you go to Beverly Hills, if you go to Bel Air, if you go to Santa Monica, Venice, Compton, Oakland, any city on the planet, going to people's houses, whether they're rich or poor, you know what you're going to find? Drugs. So it's not, these people just don't have, it's like same thing when they say, oh, they're using the restroom in the streets. If you don't have four walls, then people are going to know you doing drugs. People don't know that my neighbors over here is tweaking because they got four walls. Right. But when they're acting like tweakers, we know, but who cares? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not my business. Yeah. But if you're out in the open, and if I'm using the restroom, I got walls. And nobody sees me doing it. They don't have those luxuries. They don't have a choice. Right. And you say, oh, well, then they should just go into the business, go into the gas station, go into the Carl's Jr., go into the Burger King. You know, those places don't let
Yeah.
them go in there, and they call the police on them when they try to demand something. They don't. Some I've seen such the 7-Elevens or worse. People with money, they won't even let them come in to buy
Yep.
stuff.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. And people use drugs in our society because people use drugs. And for whatever, there's a stigma around how unhoused people use drugs. And you're right. The fact that folks don't have privacy and, you know, um, space to do it behind their own walls. Yeah. But the drug, the kind of issues that we have with drugs are actually primarily not about unhoused people, because they don't tend to be dealing huge amounts. They're not the groups of people out here, kind of doing what housed people do when they have access.
Hello,
Oh,
Ndindi,
hi.
are you
Yeah, I'm
there? I
here.
don't know what. I don't know what happened. Something just
Yeah, went
clicked
for
us
a
all
second.
off.
Oh, no. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that happens
Yeah.
sometimes. Sorry.
I'm new to these spaces, my space thing too.
Yeah, we've only been doing this like a month now, and usually you get to set up before the show. We can't even do that on here, so we kind of just roll with it.
Yeah, you go with it as it goes. Well, hopefully the
Yeah.
listeners are cool. Yeah, no, I was just saying that people do drugs because people do drugs. It's a society where people use substances, and it's unhoused people who are the most stigmatized. Um, and it's a complex issue. Lots of folks are self-medicating. There's a lot of trauma out here, and no one has privacy, right? Privacy to kind of do whatever they need to do. But it's not
Exactly.
unhoused people who are primarily the problem when it comes to drugs and how they're used. And then folks don't want solutions that would make things better, right? So we keep petitioning for trash cans and bathrooms. And one of the things that we're fighting for, which I'm really hoping happens, is that we can get a safe consumption site. This is a data-driven way of kind of safely using your drugs, and if you want to choose treatment, that's an opportunity to do that as well. But no one will touch it, really. I think because politicians are afraid of being associated with enabling, that's not how drugs work. But yeah, if we had sites and centers where people could safely use and get whatever they need, there would go. Also, the other thing that we do when we do harm reduction on Mondays is collect paraphernalia, because there's this idea, like if you don't have a place to put your paraphernalia, it'll end up on the street, right? So bits of needles
Yeah.
and glassware and things like that. And we've petitioned the city every which way, give us containers in which folks can put, their sharps. Again, we've been told this is a
Definitely.
form of enabling. It's very interesting. Logic.
Yeah, that's kind of what scares me about having the centers where people can safely do whatever is what's going to keep the cops from coming up in there and snatching people out, you know.
Yeah.
That would be my concern.
That we are super concerned about that. So that would have to be a completely police-free zone, and honestly out of the way of housed people and people who intend to harm people who use drugs, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I also think that as a tactic, like subversively, like we don't have to rely on like the state to provide such a thing. I think we can organize safe places that only we know about and our unhoused communities know about, that are out of the way, and it's that, it has nothing to do with government
Yeah.
officials, nothing to do with police, and it's just, folks who care, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
someone's got to care because so many people don't.
Yeah.
Here's another question for you, and I don't. You might not have the answer for this because I know I don't.
Yeah.
Without getting extremely radical and violent, what what can be done to combat the government's viciousness and these politicians that just want to get these people out of sight, out of mind by any and all means necessary, no matter how much harm it does to the people?
Yeah.
Like, how do we combat that?
I think it's like a multi-tactic thing. I think it's all the radical solutions that we may or may not want to talk about here, but we have to reject every form of carceral housing. The whole little shed, you're being surveilled, you must take the shelter. Anything being offered has to be a permanent house that has no conditions really attached to it, but like you get to be housed because that's all right and you're a human being, you know. And that's the only thing I think we should accept. The other thing, straight up, we need to start squatting. We need to start taking over space. It's not just the 66,000 people who are unhoused. It's also housed people who are precariously housed, right? All bunch of us in this
Yeah,
city are like a paycheck away, a decision away, a failed relationship away, an act of violence away from being unhoused. So housed people should
yeah.
not
I think
feel
that's
comfortable at all.
it's not even just the city. I think it's like 40 something percent of the country, or close to 50% of the country, is one paycheck away from houselessness.
Yeah. And so I think we need to really build solidarities with unhoused people and understand how our conditions are very much linked to theirs as well. And we have to figure out how to support each other and stop dehumanizing and destigmatizing each other. Because unless you are out here a capitalist and someone who is an owner of property, if you're renting, you should be concerned. Heck, if you have a mortgage, you probably should be concerned, right? Because if we get into a full recession, people are going to lose their housing. Um, the problem, I think, will grow. So I'm here for taking over occupations, squatting. Um,
Yeah, I think on Monday's show, last Monday's show, I might have brought up arming people and taking over hotels and Walmarts and other things to have supplies and places for people to stay and stuff. But I mean, yeah, but then, like I said, it puts those people at a higher risk because eventually you're going to have SWAT teams and
yeah,
military style
yeah,
attacks coming down
yeah,
just for trying to house people and feed people and clothe
yeah.
people.
It will be a
Um,
bloodbath, I think. So we would have to strategically figure it out. Um, it's like the West Side Pavilion. That building was empty for years, right? Because the era of the mall is over, and it was kind of like we could have sheltered
the
people
Hawthorne
there.
Mall was too.
Yeah, like we can house people. Yeah,
A few years ago in the UK, I don't know if you know this dude Laurie Love. He was a hacker. They wanted to extradite him to the U.S. and he was in big trouble for some stuff, but he was doing everything for the love of people. Anyway, a bunch of these anarchists out there took over one of these footballers or soccer for people in this country. Some rich dude had a big building, and they took it over and let all these houseless people stay in there. And I guess they had Nazis attacking them, they had police attacking them, and they had all this and that. And then finally, it was making such a big scene and big news over there. The footballer was like, you know what? I'm not even renovating it until summertime, so let them stay for the winter.
yeah,
And they kind of, they had a win. So they got the people out the cold for the winter, and they got everybody to stay in that place with the blessing of the property owner,
yeah,
which is extremely rare, especially in this country.
yeah. That's yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answers. That's why I have you here.
Yeah, that reminds me of there's a group of Black moms in Oakland, Moms for Housing.
Yeah.
And that's what they
Yep.
did. They're like, these are our times. I think this is what we have to do. Like, how kind of these market-based solutions to housing when people can barely afford to live, they don't make sense. And I think that's going to be part of the tactic, straight up. I think we should start being honest about, like, that's what we need to do, really organize towards things like that. And yeah.
Yeah. So there's not really a specific answer on how to deal with the government. I know a lot of people say go out and vote, but you voted for the lesser of two evils. This whole city's run by the quote unquote lesser of two evils, and these people are pretty fascist and pretty bad. I mean, Villanueva, who's a sheriff of LA, for anyone who doesn't know, he was brought in by the Democrats,
Mm-hmm.
and
yeah,
now the Republicans love him. It's
he's a
political
fascist.
parties aren't helping.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be the progressive sheriff, as if such a thing exists. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Progressive just seems like another term for liberals, who's another term for conservative light. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah, you're right. Conservative light. Yeah. Old conservative.
Yeah, man. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
Voting and cutting it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and as much as people say, like, Los Angeles is this liberal bastion, no, look at the policies. This is a deeply conservative place, and a place that does not love people who are poor or unhoused. And we have the most murderous PD, I think, in the nation.
Yeah, at least in the top percentage, high percentage of the most. I think it fluctuates every so often. Yeah, LAPD is horrible. LAST is horrible.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And I mean, that's the thing that happens too in some of these encampments. People will go onto the freeway to get on this, to property that's not LAPD, and the sheriffs will come and kick them off there, and it's this ping pong game back and forth.
Yeah, it really is like a whack-a-mole. If you look at how Venice Beach, the sheriffs participated in that effort to clear Venice Beach. Venice Beach is back to what it was because no one got housed. So it's this back and forth. They just swept the library. Again, it's not like people got housed. They just got shuffled somewhere else. So.
Well, the people at the library, are you talking about the Venice Library or the Mar Vista Library?
The Venice Library.
Yeah, I don't know I don't go that far usually, but the Mar Vista Library, the people that are living in front of there now were living in front of the bowling alley and donut shop over there by Grandview in Venice.
Yep.
And they put up all these planners and moved everybody out in the middle of the night.
Yep.
So they had to go like a block down to another place, which is blocking off a library and a bus stop. They weren't, before they had room, they weren't blocking anything else off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, it's like a whack-a-mole. But that's another thing that I just thought of when I brought up the planners. It started with bus stops a long time ago.
Yeah.
Putting in these bumps and separating the benches, taking off any kind of shelter overhead. Yeah. So that's why when you're at a bus stop in the rain, you got to catch a bus, you're going to get wet at a lot of places because it's just a small price you have to pay to make sure nobody gets to sleep in a sheltered area. Then they got buildings or under freeways where they put these giant boulders and cement them in. So it just looks like a pile of rocks all over. Then they got buildings that actually have spikes.
Yep. Yeah.
I go through South Central, some of these buildings with the industrial areas that got these big giant square planters that take up the whole sidewalk. I got videos of them. I should post some. It's just, I could take up the whole sidewalk. Like a tent doesn't even take up that much space.
Yeah.
It's just sick things, anything so people can't live somewhere.
Yep. Hostile architecture is what it is. And it's terrible. And like you said, most folks, they're in-house folks who have jobs, who need to catch the bus. The library should be a resource or a public good for all people. right? It should be an opportunity.
Yeah.
Open it up so people can have internet. We're about to have some blinding heat happening, and people are gonna die.
Yes.
It's so hot
Libraries
out
are
here.
traditionally
Yeah,
a source of AC.
AC, a place to keep cool. Read a book, meet with folks. Heck, they should have showers. If I gotta pay taxes, I want my taxes to go to something like that, and defund and
Definitely.
be done with the police.
I'm more an abolish kind of
Oh, I'm
person,
a
but
full
we can start
abolish
wherever.
person, but let's start taking the money
Yeah,
now. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean the money they spend $8 million a day
Yeah.
on BS. Like I said, they had what, 5 police cars and 12 or 13 cops for one houseless woman, unarmed, crying her eyes out.
It's ridiculous.
I think she yelled at some dude, say she was gonna take his dog. He had these 2 little dogs or something. Dude's 7 foot something. She's 5 foot something. He called the police on her.
Yeah.
Now, in his defense, thinking about it now, the way he was acting, he might have had some kind of mental illness or something, and push it to the extreme. But at the same time,
Yeah.
that kind of force for someone saying, "I'm gonna take your little
Yeah.
dog." They had the green shotguns out aimed at her. I was kind of getting in front, trying to, like my thing is I try to get their attention on me off of the person they're on. So at least it's like, oh, now we got this to deal with too.
Yeah.
This asshole's back again.
Yeah.
He's gonna tell us to kill ourselves. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's sick, and they have to do that to justify their insane budget.
Yeah, they do. It's like
So
the
they send these little
sweeps.
army platoons
Yeah.
out. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say it's the sweeps, right? Whenever we come out during those sweeps, they'll have police watching us help people move across the road. Just menacingly standing around. What does that have to do with cleaning? What does that have to do with safety? What does that have to do with anything? And they'll just get up into people's faces. Every once in a while, they'll catch somebody who had a warrant. And it's like, that's what the budget is for you to show up at a sweep and intimidate people. It's ridiculous.
And it's not just like 2 cops. Well, it depends on the size of the encampment, but the one in Venice,
Yeah.
they'll have 4 cops, 8 cops sometimes.
Yeah.
It's, and they're just standing around. They're just standing around. And then if something happened, they'll go mess with somebody.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's like I see them messing with people just having, a bad day mentally or something.
Yeah.
And they start, they'll start doing something goofy, and the cops want to start, trying to escalate it and seeing how far they could push and get that arrest quota filled or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's really sad. It's really ridiculous, and it's really unnecessary because I can't even count how many sweeps I've been to in different areas all around LA, and not once have I seen an attack on the sanitation crews.
Right.
I've seen people get into it because they're trying to steal their stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what usually happens? You got these police with guns come and be like, no, they're gonna steal your stuff.
Yeah.
I was at one where they told the people, all you have to do is move the stuff past this line. Whatever's past this line, we won't take. Whatever's in front of this line, you're going to put away. You got 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Everyone's rushing, get all their stuff past the line. And then they start taking the stuff from past the line, and people are like, what? Woman was crying. They're snatching her bikes. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, we're taking everything. But you told them if they did, it doesn't matter what we told them.
It's dehumanizing and wrong. Can you imagine if you had to move from where you are like every other week? Just move your stuff every other week at like 6 a.m.
Some places, Yeah, some places every day at 6 a.m.
Sheesh.
Like downtown in certain parts, they'll have everybody clear up all their stuff at 6 a.m. every day so the shops can open without having to see them.
God forbid we see poverty.
That's more in the garment district on Skid Row. I know a lot of people could stay out differently, but it's just, it's screwed up. It's so inhumane and it's so terrible, and it's just, it seems to me that the purpose of it is to be brutal and violent. Like there's no other reason for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess there's nothing really we can just do to snap our fingers and make the problem go away. So what can we do I know what you guys are doing, but what can everyone do? Like, say somebody that doesn't have a lot of connections or resources, and they're just kind of like, I really want to do something to help.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I would say, find folks like us. There's a group like ours in almost every community, and there's so many ways to get involved. The other thing is, like, get to know your neighbors for real. If there's an unhoused person who lives close to you, get to know them, get to really understand what their needs are, and be supportive, however you can. Another thing is, really address all of this propaganda and dispel all of these myths that people have around homelessness and people who use drugs and what they think the role of the police is. Because I think that's the first part of it, too. For whatever reason, people think that their government or somebody else is doing something about it, and that's just not the case. So it's like we have to save ourselves. It's that kind of a situation. So definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, get to know folks, get involved. I mean, something simple this summer, it's really, really hot. If you can just give your unhoused neighbors, you know, cold water, a frozen bottle of water, just checking in. And if you can offer a cool place where they can chill for a moment, just stuff like that.
Yeah, that's, I've seen people like little things. If you got extra jackets in the wintertime and you're gonna like, oh, my kids grew out of these jackets, or I was gonna throw this jacket away or something, or this jacket, not anything terrible ripped up, but something that's decent, that's maybe out of style. I don't know, whatever. People don't, people take stuff to Goodwill and Salvation Army or whatever.
Yeah,
But I see people just take it out and hand it to people who need it in the streets, or even just tie them around
yeah,
telephone poles.
yeah,
And the water, definitely in the
yeah,
summertime, ice cold water can go a long way,
yeah, most definitely.
and it's really cheap. You can get a big case of it for like $2 or $3 or $4.
Yeah,
Chill it out.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, just think about. I think I don't know. What I try to do is I think about if it was me out here, what would I want?
yeah. What I would need.
Somebody
Yeah,
that has my resources to do. Like I'll come up on tents sometimes, and those are always good to have, but I know they're
yeah,
expensive. And I've been lucky enough to have different groups and people give me some to hand out to people. I bought some before, but one time I just somebody donated a bunch of money to me for some reason when I was filming the police, and I never knew why they did that.
yeah,
So I was like, I'm gonna match your money, and what I did was I went to the 99-cent store. I got a bunch of these little, the little bags, the grocery bags that aren't grocery bags, they're kind of material
yeah,
bags. I got them 50 cents each or something. And I filled them up with toothpaste and toothbrushes and sanitizers and masks
yeah,
and water bottles and just everything I could think someone could need, deodorant,
yeah,
women's hygiene products. And I just went and started handing them out to people. I think I had like 30 or 40 of them.
yeah.
And it
Hygiene.
was, and, go ahead. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, I
What?
was gonna say hygiene is huge. And wound care. We do a lot of wound care because folks are,
Yeah, I
yeah,
got it. There was
band-aids and
there was a
stuff like
little
that.
first aid
Yeah,
kit. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Sometimes you do headlamps if folks ask, because at night,
Hmm.
for safety, just giving out like camp lights or headlamps we've done. Also trying to support people's pets who many times are their best friends. A lot of pet food and that kind of thing is really helpful.
Yeah, extra dog or cat food really
Yeah.
helps. Um, I mean, there was a guy named Brendan Glenn who was murdered by the police because he needed food for his dog,
Oh,
and he was really stressed out about that, having like a mental crisis. He wasn't a threat to anyone. He just really wanted to get food for his dog, and he was kind of, like, I can imagine if my dog Olive didn't eat for 3 days and I didn't know where I was gonna get money or food, I'd be flipping out. Like, what am I gonna do? She need to eat.
yeah. Yeah.
You love your dogs. And yeah, he got murdered for that by the police.
It's horrible. Horrible.
And yeah, it's just it's brutal out there. And the way that people make it seem like, just look on Twitter, you see these people. This is another thing that pisses me off. I don't know how you feel about it, but I see these people that want to help people, and that's awesome. But they also want to film themselves doing it for
Yeah.
their YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And it just seems to me like you're putting those people on
Yeah.
blast. Like, can't you do it without the cameras?
Absolutely.
It
Yep.
just, I don't know.
Yeah, and probably compromising their safety. I see people do that mess all the time, and I'm like, they're like, I'm at the corner of this and that, and I'm doing this for this person. I'm like, why are you essentially doxing this person? You know, putting them, trying to make yourself seem better or good. You know, just support your neighbor and move forward. It's so unnecessary.
Yeah, just, I mean, those cameras could be better aimed at police, in my
Exactly.
opinion.
Yeah.
It just seems exploitative to me.
It is.
Did I say that right? Exploitative.
Yeah, it's like poverty pimping.
And
I think of it like that a little
yeah,
bit. Yeah.
but then on the other end, I see people filming people to mock them and make fun or say, "Look at how terrible my neighborhood is," and it's just
It
ridiculous.
is ridiculous.
Like, what if we put cameras in their house? What will we see? I wonder.
Exactly.
Would there be drug use? Would
Probably.
people be using the restroom? Would be people having sex? Would there be people doing whatever they do in their house, just like these people are forced to do in the
Yep.
streets?
Exactly. Yeah.
I just don't. I just think that's really terrible thing, and I see it all the time on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, on YouTube. It's like, why are these people filming this?
Yeah. And it's dehumanizing. Like, it's like you don't think this person deserves the respect and privacy that you do, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I try to do what I can.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been handing out water and weed.
Yeah.
It actually helps too. Like, if you can get joints or something, I would recommend that. It helps people out, because think about how stressed you'd be out there.
Yeah. It's important.
If
Cannabis is really
people
important
don't
for
put
harm reduction
themselves,
too, because a lot of folks might choose a different substance, you know. So yeah, pass out joints all the time.
that's another thing I see too. I see people asking for money, and somebody gives them money, and then wants to start telling them what you can and can't spend it on, and don't go over here, and
No.
that pisses me off.
Yep.
It's like, if you give someone money, that's
That's
their
their money now. Yeah.
Whatever they want to do with it is their business. Do you get your paycheck and your boss be like, "Don't you go buy no weed with that? Don't you? I don't want to see you get no alcohol. You better not go get no drugs. Go spend it on food only."
Yeah.
What would people? Ooh, that enrages me.
Yeah.
If I give somebody $10 or $500 or whatever I give them, that's their money.
Yep. They can do what.
Whatever you're gonna do with it, hopefully you get a place to stay if I give you enough, and the food and stuff you need. But it's your money. Who cares? It's not my business.
Yeah. I think low
I just
key,
never
I don't get it. Low key, people want to be cops, and they want to control other people's behaviors and what they do with their time and what they do with their money. And like, yeah, we want to abolish the cops. Also kill the cop in your head, You don't need to regulate. Kill the cop in your head. You don't need to be out here regulating people, especially people who are super traumatized. If I found myself being unhoused, I'd be using a substance as well to manage, right?
Yeah, for sure. Why? I mean, just to numb the pain, and just to make. I mean, nobody cares about people half the time.
Yeah.
Like you said, people throw things at them. People scream. I've seen the cops drive by and hit their lights off. Hit their siren. Their whoop whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Driving through. This is like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Going through both sides of the encampment, make a U-turn, and then on the loudspeaker, "Don't get COVID. COVID's coming to get you." Like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
It's like they just to wake people up, just to
torture.
startle and annoy people.
Is what it is. It's torture. It's also to remind you that, hey, at any moment, we can violate you in any kind of way. Like, you don't belong to yourself. It's abusive and violent is what it is, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, pretty much hit the hour mark. I know you got stuff to do today. Is there anything else you think that I didn't bring up or we didn't bring up that needs to be said?
Um, no, just thanks for this platform and using it in this way for this time. And folks are welcome to message me on Twitter. And if you want to learn, I have a lot of resources. Like if you want to know about, you know, drug use, I have resources. If you want to learn about homelessness and some of the politics, I have a lot of resources. And if you just want to come out and learn how to support and participate in a network like ours, I'm happy to help you do that as well.
Definitely. Yeah, if you're in LA area, especially more out west, yeah, hook up with Ndindi. Let me because it's gonna go on YouTube too.
Okay.
So let me give a shout out to your on Twitter. It's at
Yeah.
NDINDI at NDINDI.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We have
so
an
yeah,
Instagram page as well. Palms Unhoused
oh, go ahead and
Mutual
shout
Aid.
that out one more time. Sorry.
Palms Unhoused Mutual Aid.
Palms Unhoused Mutual
Uh-huh.
Aid. That's where the Puma comes
That's
from.
what Puma is. It's also a throwback to
Yeah,
the Black Panthers. So yeah.
nice. Some of those people are heroes to me.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I really appreciate you doing this, Dandy. I think it was extremely informative, and I learned stuff, and I hope other people did as well. And yeah, we have a small channel, but like I tell people, you're always welcome back to do anything you need to do. I mean, People's Radio is for the people and to get their voices. So I mean, if you can use this, feel free. Just contact me, and that goes for anybody else as well. So yeah, I appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day, and if there's nothing else, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the show.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.